So, Shapora, it's great having you on the show here. Why don't you tell us about the Pizza Guys? You started this way back in 1986, huh?
Exactly. So this is a venture that I started in California, but my history in pizza business goes back way beyond that when I was in college in Cleveland, Ohio. Back so pretty much I got into pizza business from 1979. After graduating, I sort of decided the Cleveland weather is too cold, and I had relatives in California, moved to California, and started this chain over here in California back in 1986.
And so, what made you decide to start your own pizza business?
Well, I didn't choose pizza business. It chose me basically. And again, going back to Cleveland, as a foreigner student coming into United States and trying to establish myself and having pay for tuition and all that stuff, it is sort of like my first job was pizza business. And while I was going to college, paying for tuition and all that stuff, I was a full-time student and a full-time pizza maker. And I started loving what you could turn a knob and see success in the business and stuff. And after I graduated, I was asking all my buddies that graduated in the same field that I was. I was in mechanical engineering field, and yeah, we had friends, different engineering and stuff like that. And I was making a lot more money than they were doing in pizza business. So I said, you know what? It's been good to me and I want to continue that. Basically, that's a short story of what happened.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let's give a little more color for the audience here. You're coming up on a magical 100 franchise locations, and we're going to get into franchising here in a moment. But I understand you have 89 franchise units right now open, plus six company owned in California, right? Nevada, and Texas is coming now.
Texas is going to be open in a few months. Yes, that's the first farthest state that we have ever been. So we are very excited. Texas is going to be a huge market for us, but we've been doing so good in California. We started in Northern California, and pretty much we have at least one or two pizza shop in every town in Northern California. For last few years, we were really pushing in Southern California, and I'm glad to say that we have over 20 locations in Southern California and another 10 under construction that's coming up. And we are so excited. We wanted to make sure that the next territory that we're going to develop, for the amount of work and effort that we're going to put into it, is big enough to so we can be able to open at least a couple hundred, pizza shop. And Texas came on the radar, and we did 2 years of a study and exploration of different places. And we have, you have Dallas, you have Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and we decided for the first stop to be Dallas. Is a huge market, and demographic fits exactly the kind of profile that we're looking for. So that's our first stop, but eventually we're going to be in Houston, San Antonio, and Austin as well. Those are the major cities, and then some smaller cities as well.
Sure.
That's our
All right.
goal.
Well, and you guys are well known in California. Of course, I'm an East Coast guy, so not as familiar, but I know that you're really, really popular out there on the West Coast. Take me back to the beginning, because so many of my audience are emerging founders, and you remember what it was like back in the late '80s, starting out. Would you share with the audience what was it like when you first were running your company? Because you had a little bit of experience as an employee, but now you're running your first business. And what was life like? And what were maybe some of the early mistakes that you made?
Well, just to make a little correction, when I was in the pizza business in Cleveland, I actually was a partner, and then we bought a second location, and so I was a partner in two locations, and I was the owner or co-owner. So there
Oh,
was a
you
lot.
18 years old?
Yeah, yeah, believe it or not, 18 years old. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. That is incredible.
I was just the hardest working person on that team, and the owner liked me so much, he made me a partner, and then we opened the second store together and stuff like that. So I was very excited about, how I can, like I said, move some knobs and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and make the business very successful. And the only issue between pizzas from East Coast to West Coast was the variety of pizzas, or the difference between the pizzas from the East Coast and the West Coast. And California is all health conscious, and a lot of, health conscious kind of pizzas and stuff like that, and not as deep dish or all meat kind of pizzas that we used to have in Cleveland. So when I moved to California, that was the biggest thing, that I had to really redo the menu and adjust to our customer profile in California. And that took that took a while to create all these recipes and all these pizzas that are going to be favorites here in California. That was the biggest challenge, to be honest. And after that, it was just having the right team, right people that can, carry the weight and bring you to where you are right now.
Where was the first location?
First location in Sacramento and still open. The same location still open over here. That's store number 101. So in Sacramento, California.
Nice. All right. Well, how long was it before you had this realization that I'm onto something big here and I want to expand beyond this one location in Sacramento and start blowing this thing up?
So yeah, that's a very good question because we originally, when you start as a mom and pop and you start, maybe you don't have the ambition of becoming a franchise and stuff like that. But ours came out pretty quickly because we had some good people, team members that they're working just as hard as I was working back in Cleveland when I started. So I had very good team, and these guys worked really hard. And we opened, I think, 7 company stores at that time. And those 7 company stores, these managers were just awesome, just great. And you can only, as a team member, you can only pay so much. And then these people, they expect more and more. So what I did, I saw the need to franchise and make these people my first franchisees. And of course, they didn't have any money. I said, you know what? I believe in these people because they made me who I am up to this point, and I think I'm going to go ahead and invest in them. And so we supported them financially, and they became our first franchisees. So if I didn't do that, I would lose them. And it's hard, to run 7 stores by yourself. But they are still 99% of them are with me, and they have multiple stores. They have one, two, three, or the biggest one. They have 7 stores right now, and they're still with me after all these years, and I'm so proud of that.
That's amazing. I could imagine when you were starting out and you're a young guy, you were a kid back then. You were able to relate to these people as that were you were bringing on as managers and franchisees. They probably related to you. There was some camaraderie there.
Absolutely. So I did the same thing when I had my first job. I had to prove myself. And when I proved myself, the guy gave me a chance. My partner, he gave me a chance. And when he gave me a chance, I had to just prove myself. And when I did it, we opened a second store like that. And I wanted to give the same opportunity to these people. And it worked. It worked. And yeah, I'm very proud of that, to be honest. And even long after that, we had grew very organically by having their cousin coming over here, their friends, family, relatives, or loyal customers that were coming to our stores. And we are so proud of that because we actually didn't have a mechanism to sell a franchise when we started. It was all organic, people coming to us buying franchise. So all the way to right before pandemic, I think everything that we grew all the way to 65 stores, it was all organic. And because of the loyalty that we have through our franchisees, which are friends and families and stuff like that, and also customers. So,
Yeah. That's quite the magical ride. Most franchisors that I talk with, including myself, we got our first dozen franchisees because they were referrals. Now, I didn't have friends or family that opened franchises of mine, but typically founders I talk to, that is the case. What's different about your business, though, is that it had this ripple effect where you were able to just keep growing organically, where most of us had to advertise, on the web portals, maybe use brokers and all those things in the very, very beginning. But you just had this just crazy momentum.
well, the other thing that I believe in is that maybe some people, they start franchising too early and they're not ready. They don't have the infrastructure and stuff. And I really cared about that because I knew that if you don't have all the infrastructure in place and you don't have the support, of course, you can advertise and sell, and some people will believe in you. But then what? If you don't give them the support to succeed, you cannot grow. So I was hesitant to do that for longest time, and we you know, and then when we got more store open. And I said, you know what? We are already doing that. We already are supporting. We are already doing that. We do have the mechanism. And why don't I believe in that? I did. So the only other thing I did, we purchased a beautiful 28,000 square feet building, and we put a replica of one of our stores inside as a test kitchen and stuff like that. Totally exactly replica of one of our stores. I made the infrastructure as beautiful and as I can and as thoughtfully as I can. And that was the, stepping stone to move to the next phase, because we had everything. We had the team members, we had the trainers, we had our operation manual all, dialed in, and the facility that we had, we could test everything. We could train people over here. We had a test store. So everything worked out just fine. And when we were ready to sell franchise, now we can go ahead and start advertising and sell franchise. And I'm so proud to say that we jumped really quick, and we are averaging over 10 stores a year right now, at least. And the only thing that is stopping us from moving is the time that it takes for us to get the permits and stuff like that. Otherwise, we could be opening 20 stores. It's getting so difficult to open a store, getting the permit on time and, getting the construction on time. And during the COVID, of course, everything just dead stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I give you a lot of credit. But plus, you're not an easy state to do business in and expand as well, as beautiful as it is.
It's beautiful that it is. If you can make it in California, you can make it anywhere. That's what I say.
That's probably the new slogan now, for sure. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.